The media poll came out for the preseason look at what the Big Ten is going to be. So let's take a quick look at that and just go through this together team by team. Penn State at 1, Ohio State at 2, Oregon at 3, Illinois at 4. Michigan picked to finish 5th. Indiana at 6. Interesting. Iowa at 7. Nebraska at 8. USC at 9. Washington at 10. Minnesota at 11. Wisconsin at 12. Michigan State and Rutgers both tied for 13th here, according to the media. The plot thickens. UCLA at 15 and the Fighting Nico Iamaleavas. Maryland at 16. Northwestern at 17. And freaking Purdue right there at 18. Man, that's tough because, like, Purdue, they had some good players. Just all their good players left for better situations, whether it be Will Helt to Clemson or Dylan Thieneman to Purdue. I digress. That's the way that the media sees the Big Ten right now in the preseason. So a couple of notes on this. My first reaction is Penn State being picked to win the Big Ten in the preseason. Here's how I feel about Penn State relative to the conversation in the college football public right now. I like Penn State a lot. Like them a lot. I don't know that I would choose or predict them to win the conference, but it doesn't mean like I'm out on Penn State. It's kind of like pineapple on pizza for me. If that's your thing, cool. You won't hear me standing on the table saying pineapple doesn't belong on pizza or making some big like scene about it. That's fine. But if you're asking me, I'm probably not going to order that way. Or if you order all pineapple pizza, I'm like, hey, I'm good on that. Thank you, but no thank you. I love Drew Aller as a quarterback. I'm still waiting on that moment where it's like, hey, he's the reason why he carried them to beat a team they shouldn't have beat. And as much as I like Penn State's roster, I'm still curious and, dare I say, skeptical as to how they stack up from a top-to-bottom roster talent depth-wise to some of those teams that are ranked behind them and that they'll have to beat if they want to win the Big Ten. Like Ohio State, Oregon, they're at 2 and 3. I don't think that's like massively unfair to have those two teams in the top 3. I just full transparency would have one of those two as the team picked to win the conference. More on that later next week. But the reason why is those are the two teams that have the best players, have been top 2 in the conference in the recruiting rankings every year since Dan Lanning's been at Oregon, and they have the best coaches. I think Dan Lanning and what he's done at Oregon, I think what Ryan Day has done since he's been at Ohio State, to me, that is more impressive than what Penn State has right now. And that's not a James Franklin knock. That's just kind of, I think, what the proof has been in the pudding. Like, I don't believe James Franklin has beaten Dan Lanning unless there's some game that I'm not remembering here. I think Dan Lanning's got the 1-0 there. Now, it was a good game, and Penn State played well, but a lot of it is, and I hate to be the guy where it's like I need to see it to believe it because I think that's kind of a dangerous approach in college football. But I think I need to see more depth on the roster, top to bottom, from Penn State before I'm picking them over Ohio State or an Oregon as it stands right now. All right. Now, Illinois at 4, I don't trust them, man. I don't trust them. And if you want to put them at this spot in the preseason poll, great. But like y'all, they were 5-1 in one-score games last year. 5-1. If 2 of those go differently, like we're looking at a very different conversation, I think this time this year around Illinois. They lose their top 2 leading receivers. They lose their leading rusher from a year ago. I like Luke Altmaier. I don't know if I love Luke Altmaier. Like, again, if you want to be in Illinois, be my guest. But like 4 to me is just a touch rich. Now, Indiana at 6, not an unfair ranking, but I just want us to discuss what Indiana is this year. Last year, it's fair to say that they were a team that benefited from their schedule. They were also a really good football team, right? So make sure we make that clear. But they play a bunch of teams this upcoming season that they didn't have to play last year. So I don't want to take anything away from what Indiana was in 2024. But like you play Illinois, you're at Oregon, you're at Iowa. Like you didn't have to play those games last year. You're also at Penn State. Like those weren't teams you had to see a season ago. And so while I think Curt Cignetti is the right guy for the job, I'm not as hot on Indiana this upcoming season. I don't think they'll be a repeat playoff team, for my humble opinion. All right, now Mr. Fernando Mendoza, Mr. 98 yards with my boys, could prove me wrong, and I would love that, but that's how I feel about it. Across the Big Ten, though, just kind of round this thing out, as we're getting ready for our playoff predictions for next week, I think there is probably right now a very strong case to be made for 3 teams to make the college football playoff from this conference. I think this was the best conference in college football a year ago. And I think there's some people that would argue it was the best conference in college football for the last 2 years. You've had the last 2 national champions, and that's fine. But the fourth team to get in from this conference to the college football playoff, that discussion is where this gets really fascinating. Because there is a middle tier, I think, of the Big Ten that is just really sneaky. Like I look at Michigan, Iowa, Nebraska, USC, Washington. I can talk myself into every single one of those teams factoring in and being what last year's Indiana was. Like, I mean, Nebraska, they play 4 true road games. Iowa, they don't play Michigan. They don't play Ohio State. They get Oregon and Penn State at home. Home field advantage for the folks out there in Kinnick, probably a good deal. Michigan, we keep saying this, the roster math checks out great for them. I mean, you beat Ohio State and Alabama throwing for double-digit passing yards, and you plug in a freak show in Bryce Underwood at quarterback. True freshman, but if he pops, like, okay, the schedule for them also very workable. USC, defense is, I think, continuing to elevate, and I like Jaden Miava more than most. Washington, a lot of their big games are at home. So like, you go down the line here, and even this is, again, assuming you're not in on Illinois like I am. There's a lot of teams here that I think could be the fourth from the Big Ten to make the college football playoff. So that's more so just me venting and telling y'all I don't know exactly what this middle tier looks like, but I think the Big Ten is going to be awesome this year. I think it's going to be an awesome TV product. I think the quality of ball is awesome, and I cannot wait till things get rolling because it's going to be, I think, once again, like we all know, one of the top conferences in the sport. And we'll have a very good case, I think, to be the top conference in the sport for the second year in a row.